So I just want to ask how you're doing. You know, a lot of people have seen those graphic images of your son, and I can't even imagine you being able to sit through that. How are you so strong, and how are you able to do that?
Just take it day by day. It was day by day. Now it's hour by hour. Sometimes it's minute by minute. To take it in small portions.
And you said the other day when the video played that William Rodney Bryan filmed that was the first time you had seen the entire video. Tell me again why you decided to sit in the courtroom and watch that.
I awarded the video for the last 18 months, and I knew that video would be played repeatedly throughout the trial, and I knew it was time for me to get familiar with it.
You specifically spoke about the investigator's testimony, Investigator Lowry, yesterday. You said you came out energized to talk to us about that. Tell me again what he told you the day your son was killed and why it was so important for you to hear those hours of testimony in court.
Back on the 23rd of February of 2020, I received a phone call about 6:30 p.m. The caller identified himself as Investigator Lowry from Glenn County Police Department. He shared that Ahmaud had been in a burglary. There was a confrontation between Ahmaud and the homeowner. There was a wrestle over the firearm, and unfortunately Ahmaud was shot and killed.
And hearing in the courtroom yesterday, he didn't say anything.
No. I was very anxious just to put a face with the name, because I waited for that testimony for a long time because he never would call me back. So I really wanted to hear what actually happened. And when he testified on yesterday, it really showed me that everything he told me was not true.
So you had called him and tried to get him to call you back over the past year and a half?
Yeah, when it first happened initially, when I learned that he was the lead investigator, I reached out to him and he'd never returned my phone calls.
Is there any other particular testimony you've been there every day that has stood out to you?
Today with Larry English, the homeowner, with the videos, that really stood out because his last statement in his testimony was he just wanted Ahmaud to stay from around his property and he didn't want Ahmaud to be harmed. But instead, Ahmaud wasn't aware that he shouldn't have been there and Ahmaud was shot and killed.
And in his testimony and also testimony from some officers who questioned Gregory McMichael, both of them said, well, we don't think Ahmaud took anything. Hearing that, what was that like to have that acknowledged?
It was just a point that it was clarification, because all the time I knew that he hadn't taken anything, and it was just reassuring. I can use that word. I was reassured that Ahmaud was actually shot and killed for no apparent reason.
One of the defense's key arguments is that this was a citizen's arrest. There's been at least 3 officers now who have testified when prosecutors have asked, did they say anything to that effect, using the word citizen's arrest, meaning the defendants, and they said no. Hearing that as well, do you feel like that's kind of a dig at the defense's argument, or how are you seeing things play out right now?
On the 23rd of February, when the McMichaels went after Ahmaud, it wasn't a citizen's arrest. I don't even think they knew anything about a citizen's arrest. And they went out to actually, it's like a modern day lynching to me, really.
And specifically, you said yesterday, I believe it was, I know probably for you all the days are blurring together as well, but you said that you wanted to see Gregory McMichael take the stand. Do you want to see all 3 defendants take the stand, and if so, why?
I really want to see the father, the oldest one, because he's the father of Travis, and just to get the mindset that he had on that day, being that he was with his son, and he actually allowed his son to kill my son, and that's something that fathers don't do.
If you could speak to any of the defendants, what would you say?
I would mainly want to speak to the elder, parent to parent, mother to father, and ask them why. I mean, the same way that you value Travis, I valued Ahmaud the same way.
Today in court, I'm sure you heard the attorney for William Rodney Bryan, Kevin Goff, said after the lunch break to the judge that he was concerned with, he called them black pastors coming in and sitting with the family and saying that we don't want any more black pastors coming in. He said he likened it to the effect of what if we came in here dressed up as Colonel Sanders wearing white masks. When you heard that, what was your reaction?
It was unreal because the family has really taken a loss. And I would think any support that the family can get, they would allow that, and it wouldn't be frowned upon. So but it was unreal.
And the judge saying, I'm not gonna look at who's in the courtroom unless there made a disturbance, or with him saying that he's not gonna have a blanket ruling. How did you feel on that?
I think the judge, he heard the argument and he made the right decision. I mean, by the pastor sitting in with the family, it's not a disturbance to the jury, it's not a disturbance to the courts, so why not?
What is your outlook for the next potentially 2 weeks? They think it's going to end. Friday was the date, but now they think obviously it'll be pushed back. And how are you planning on getting through that with your family support, friend support, all of that?
The next 10 days are the remaining of the trial. It's going to be challenging, but very interesting because these are days that I waited on for the last 18 months. I'm going to embrace the next 10, 15 days because I waited on these days, and I'm very, very thankful that it finally arrived.
Did you think this day would ever come?
Initially, no. I never thought that we would actually have a trial date. And to see the 3 defendants sitting behind those tables, it's just my prayers answered.
If Ahmaud was sitting right next to you right now, what do you think he would say about all this support that he's been getting, and what would you say to him?
Ahmaud would probably say, well, I know he would just say thank you. I know that, Ahmaud was a good child. He would just say thank you, and Mom, keep fighting.
What does justice look like for you and your family?
Justice looks like for all 3 defendants. Well, not, I can't say all 3. Everyone that was involved in the murder of Ahmaud to be brought to justice.
And convicted on all counts?
All counts.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if you've been able to see the defendants when every day they get brought back out, put in handcuffs and brought back to the jail. Have you been able to see that at all? Or?
No, I haven't been able to view that.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to add or wanted the community to know?
Just wanted the community to know that I appreciate them. The love and support that they've given my family and I is very much appreciated.
And I just wanted to touch on real quick the obviously mostly white jury. Some of the defense was saying, of course, last week when the jury was chosen, that they had to initially rule out those, dismiss those potential jurors. They said both black and white who already had their minds made up. Mm-hmm. What was your impression of that? And moving forward, does this still concern you at all that it's a mostly white jury?
The time that I learned that we had mostly white jurors, it was very concerning. But again, I had to think that if I don't care what color they are, if they hear the evidence, we still would get justice for Ahmaud. So I'm very confident, no matter what color they are, that they'll do the right thing.
I think that's all I have. Let me just double check my notes real quick. Is there, I know you kind of touched on this already, but a way you're looking, you can perceive that the case is maybe leaning towards either way? I know there's been a lot of interruptions from both sides and it's dragging out a little bit, but do you kind of see it either way?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I phrased it kind of poorly, but as far as the direction the case is going, do you see it leaning more towards the state or the defense in either way?
I think that the state is doing a great job in presenting the evidence. I think that we're doing good.
You did mention also, the jury's had to be brought out a few times, several times really, to talk about disagreements between both sides. You mentioned that this has been prolonging things. How are you feeling about the timeline?
The amount of hearings that we've had until we got to the trial, I would think that all the arguments would have been already concluded, but I'll just take them as they come.
Does anything really surprise you at this point?
No, nothing surprises me in that courtroom. Nothing.
I think that is all I have for you, unless, let me just double check real quick here. And you said you only really wanted to hear Gregory McMichael testify, take the stand up there. I do want to ask you what it's like to have, you've had several of people from around the country, but particularly Reverend Al Sharpton. Next week, Jesse Jackson is coming. What is it like to have, and I'm sure over the past year, all the support from big name people like this in helping your family?
Having the Reverend Al Sharpton to show up on yesterday, it was very, very It made me happy to know that he took the time out of his busy schedule to come to Brunswick, Georgia, to stand with the family. That really meant a lot.
We heard from some of the pool notes that sometimes in court you've talked about certain, you've had reactions, for lack of a better term, to certain arguments the defense has made. For instance, showing body camera video, they're saying almost that Travis looked like he was really upset after the fact. His father is seen consoling him. When that video was shown in court, what was your reaction to the defense's argument?
His reaction really didn't shock me because he had just taken a life. So of course he was going to be upset. He had just ended some young man's life. A father, it was his job to console him on the wrong that he had just done.
And any plans in the future for you and your family as far as memorializing Ahmaud?